I wasn't emotional until I started to walk up here and saw all of you and saw the handful of people that left that don't like me. Now, this is going to be very serious if you all know me, how serious this is going to be. So first of all, this is about you and all that you've given to me in my 15 and a half years here. It's just been an awesome experience. I've learned a lot. I had a sign in my office that said, "I'm growing older but not up," and I think most of you probably will attest to that. There's one person here that if you like me, you can say she takes credit for this, and there's the same person, if you don't like me, you can blame her. Most of you don't know that I was this close to being the shortest tenured member of the House. When I was elected in 2003, Governor Rendell had offered 2 budgets, and the Republicans in the House and the Senate had the nerve to pass one of them, and he vetoed part of his own budget, if you remember that. Well, I got elected in June 30th, or sworn in June 30th with Tom Killian, and so we were back and forth that entire summer and fall, and I think the last day of session was, December 21st or 22nd? I'm looking over at Joe because he never missed a day. And so I would go in on a Friday. There was a cover letter for an Eagle Scout Award, and I read the boilerplate letter. It looked fine. And I told the gentleman staffer at the time to please print that out on letterhead, and I'll sign it. Well, it was taking forever to come out. So I said, look, I'll just come in on Saturday, the next day, and I'll sign it. So I came in Saturday, it was on my desk, I signed it. Fortunately, Bonnie Stopperich is in my life. At the last sentence in that letter, it was supposed to say, "Good luck in all future endeavors." Well, he manually typed it instead of printing the boilerplate, and instead of the L, it was an F. It was a Saturday, so I was the only one in my office. I immediately had to go home and change my underwear. It was horrible. You can imagine the embarrassment that would have taken place. But Bonnie, you've had my back every day, and God bless you for making that astute find in that letter and reading and checking that young man's work. He, by the way, went on to work for a congressman. So Bonnie, if you could give everybody a wave, I'd appreciate that. Jim Scott, also in my district office, is the gentleman that does all those senior citizen type applications, and they love him. So Jimmy, thanks for getting me all those senior votes over the years. Many of you probably remember Joy McKee. She retired a couple years ago. Joy, please stand up so they can recognize you again. But when you get elected in a special, you don't know what's going on around here. And if you remember the Family Circus cartoon, she would always draw me maps like that. Like I said, I have to go to the meeting in this building. So she would draw the dotted line, and I'd follow it to get there. But in addition to being an awesome Harrisburg secretary, she also milked cows before she came here. Then on the weekends, she would work at a farmer's market. Later on, she worked at a convenience store and also a hotel. She's one of the hardest working people that I know, and thank you, Joy, so much. Ty McCausland, my communication specialist. Ty has an awesome set of ties. He roots for all the wrong sports teams, but he made sure that all my media was taken care of and cleaned up all those negative comments on my Facebook page. Thank you, Ty. Kelly Roth, my administrative assistant. You know, I thought Joy was the best until I had the pleasure of working with Kelly. Fantastic, and if you and your family ever move to the Pittsburgh airport area, we'll hire you at my company. You are the best, consummate professional. Thank you. The speaker mentioned telemedicine. I dragged Wayne Crawford all over the place for the last few months working on that issue. And I had a good time. I'm not so sure that he did. But Wayne, thank you so much. And he had veto power on the committee. He had the ability to keep me from hurting myself and some of the decisions that I wanted to make too aggressively early on. So Wayne, thank you so much for your help and what you've done for every member of this caucus over the years. Thank you. Mike Verb was supposed to be here. I'm not sure. I think we locked the doors to keep him out. So we'll defer on him till later. Cheryl Schreiner, my cubby bear, also known as Red Spikes. She has her own cheering section up there. She taught me to wait before hitting send in my emails, but also wait before hitting send in my mouth. Without her, I would have been in a lot more trouble than I normally would be in. And God bless you. You are my heart outside of my body. And thank you. And I'm not going to cry right now, but you're the best. And I look forward to spending a lot of years traveling with you and doing a lot of fun things. Thank you, dear. All right, now my goal is to mention every member on the Republican side of the aisle at some point. So we're going to read pretty fast here. And then my friends on the Democrat side. Because you know how you sit out there and you say, boy, is he going to mention me? Is he going to mention me? So I played some word association games with some of you, and some I just, yeah, Russ Diamond, you get ready. But before we get there, there's friends across the street that I want to recognize as well. Sheila, Brian, Dan, Ryan, and Scott. Clancy Meyer, when I first got elected, my daughter would watch some of this on PCN, and she's like, who's that ventriloquist guy? He's like over here. I see his lips moving, but the guy behind the microphone is doing all the talking. So Clancy, you're awesome. Kelly Fideli, thanks for organizing all the teams and all the events here on the floor. It's very much appreciated. Dave Radcliffe and his team, the Pages and Messengers, Spiz and Lynn, Jessica and Jennifer and Caucus, all the committee research staff. You all know we couldn't do our jobs without them. So Bruce and Susan and Dana, Garth, Amanda, Dave Donnelly and Rob Gartner, Richie Lefevre, Lisa Taglon, Josiah Shelley, Aaron Robb, Karen Dalton, Tom Dimmick, and all the appropriations staff, and the leadership staff. Karen Coates. I think Karen Coates may be the only staff person on our side of the aisle that has her own cheer. Is that right, Pyle? Karen Coates. No, not one more time. We'll save that. How are you doing, stenographer? All right, Steve Miskin, Tony Aliano, Chad Weaver, Mr. Sushi, Rod Corey, fellow Grove City grad, Jim Mann, and Neil Lesher. You know, when I took over HRCC last session, we had some door-knocking machines, and they were the new members were Aaron Bernstein, Bud Cook, Alex Charlton, Michael Core. What's up? You know, he's obviously didn't like it here. Matt Dowling, Jonathan Fritz, Don Kiefer, Zach Mako. Zach was knocking on doors, and I get these reports, and I noticed his doors weren't moving, and so I called him on his cell phone, and I said, Zach, what's going on? He says, well, I'm deployed in Europe for 2 weeks. I said, never mind, I'm sorry. But thank you for your service to our country, Zach. Tom Mahaffey, Eric Rowe, great set of twins. Frank Ryan, he didn't just break it. He smashed the rule of freshmen not being heard on the House floor or in caucus. And Justin Walsh. All my friends from the government relations side, you know, there's some that call them lobbyists. But, you know, we rely on the honest ones for all that they do for us over the years and coming in and saying, hey, this is what my client's advocating for, but here's what the other side might be saying. And that certainly helps all of us do our jobs much more effectively. So I did know Dennis Walsh before, from Bravo, before I got elected. He actually married one of my ex-business partner's daughters. John Mulady, thanks for the hat, John, and thanks for all of you done for me and Cheryl. John Milliron, Stan Rapp, Tony Creasy. For those of you who don't know, I broke Tony Creasy's ankle. He came to see me in Florida, and I was on the golf cart and I threw him out and he broke his ankle. Apparently the statute of limitations runs out after I'm no longer a House member. Dave Thomas, Andy Goodman, Bob Taylor, Ron Raymond. I made the mistake of standing one of my first days here, and my daughter called me and said, "Dad, what they're saying is absolutely wrong." So foolishly, I came down in the well and I spoke, and I walked back to my seat, and Ron Raymond said, "You're absolutely right, Mark. I'm not voting with you, but you're right." I learned a lot that day, believe me. Still haven't learned, have I, with this telemedicine thing, but anyway. Patty McKevich, Mike Warfel, Michael Yantis, Mike Long, Bruce Hieronymus, Bill Reese, Scott Baker, Michelle Reyes, Chuck Colling. No, I'm not interviewing with any of these people. Debbie Stark, Deb Suter, Kim Sokolowski, Frank Sirianni from the Building Trades, Reed Ryan from the Steam Fitters, Gary Babin, Laura Keller, Jeff Smart, Pete Gleason, Tim Lydon, Rob Vecchio, Buzz, and Chick. Anybody up there that I didn't mention, please stand. Retired members, Billy Adolph, Candyman John Payne. I think 15 of these pounds are thanks to Hershey when I sat next to John. Don Walco and Dave Marinick, former members that now live in my district. Doug Reichley, Tom and Dick Stevenson. Dick Stevenson, probably one of the nicest members to come out of here until I met Park Wentling. I think he challenges him for being one of the nicest individuals. Now the back row. John Ferris Bueller Marr. What can I say? It was Jimmy Marshall's and my responsibility to make sure. But John, absolutely a joy to be next to you. You taught me so much, particularly about procedures and Mason's Manual and what we should be doing. I think I'm going to miss that deep resonating voice and the debates, and hopefully you'll still be in government somewhere down the road. John Killer, Jim Marshall, we'll talk about him a little later. John Taylor, JT, chair of the Tuesday caucus. And Mike Pfeiffer, for some reason he said I look like a muskrat. Yep, there it was. Kurt Mosser, Doyle Heffley, Linda Culver, Rosemary Brown, and Dave Millard for voting me. Just kidding. The Tuesday 4:30 caucus is where we got a lot done, and this is where I end up getting a lot of your names in here. Ashley Grimm, Barry Joswiak, Bernie O'Neill, thank you for yielding your time. Christine Goldbeck, Craig Statz, Eric Bugal, Greg Raffensberger, Greg Rothman, Hal English, Jeff Pyle, Jimmy Marshall, John Marr, John Taylor, Judy Ward, Justin Walsh, Karen Coates. Nah, we won't do it again. Kate Harper, Kathy Rapp, Keith Gillespie, Linda Culver, Marsha Lampman, and you can see we have a diverse group. So we talked over issues for about the first 2 minutes, and then we got into caucus work. Marguerite Quinn, Mark Keller, Martina White, Matt Gobler, who is serving our country, and we very much appreciate that as well. Matt Dowling, Mike Pfeiffer, Nancy Cole, Lee James, Ron Marsico, Rosemary Brown, Ryan Warner, Cheryl DeLozier, Stan Saylor, Tom Dimmick, Tom Mahaffey, Tim Hennessy, and Warren Kampf. Thank you for all your advice and counsel in that 4:30 caucus over the years. It was awesome. Professional Licensure Committee and Harry Reedshaw, my minority chair and probably the classiest guy that I've been able to meet and hang around with up here. Very much respected on both sides of the aisle. And Harry, thanks so much for your advice and counsel on the committee that you've been on for many, many years. I remember Tim Briggs, I think, made a motion to second something one of our first meetings, and afterwards he came up to me and said, thank you, because I guess they're not customary to have Democrats doing motions in the committee, but I felt that that committee particularly is the most bipartisan because we both have friends on both sides of an issue that we want to please, and it's tough sometimes to split the baby. Jimmy Christiana, who we'll talk more about a little later, Gary Day, Joe Emmerich, also on the committee, Chairman Gillespie and Sue Helm. Sue, hope we can get that home inspector bill across the line for you and Billy Quartz. Dave Hickernell, Jerry Knowles, Tom Mahaffey again, Steve Mentzer, Marguerite Quinn. Thanks, Marguerite, for all your hard work on so many issues, particularly telemedicine. Jamie Santora, Kurt Sonny, and Tara Toohill. thank you for all you did for the committee. Timmy Briggs, Carolyn Comita, Dom Costa, Margot Davidson, Tina Davis, Dan Deasy, Jordan Harris, Billy Quartz, Joanna McClinton, and Adam Ravenstall. And thank you to leadership, Kurt Mosser, Donna Oberlander, Carrie Benninghoff, Marcy Topol, thanks for calling on me in caucus, Stan Saylor, and Brian Cutler. Brian, thank you so much for all your help. Now we'll get into some name game stuff. Steve Barrar, my housemate with Senator Pippi and also an avid sailor. Steve Bloom is the perfect person for your next move, and good luck, Steve. Karen Boback, for some reason I think of my aunt, but she has like the greatest voice. When she stands up, it's so proper and so quiet that you want to listen. And I really enjoyed being on the Appropriations Committee with her. Marty Kauser, who I learned, whose district is larger than the state of Rhode Island. When I was pushing downsize in the legislature 10 years ago, he mentioned that in a hearing, and that was quite impressive. Becky Corbin, an awesome member and really, really smart. Jim Cox, I'm counting on you and Dave Maloney to cut my property taxes. Russ Diamond. When we voted on the pay raise, Russ was up in the gallery, and he and I were going back. This is before I learned to not hit send. We were going back and forth in emails, and he said he was going to come out and campaign against me and make sure I lost. But I was really proud to support you in your campaign. Gene DiGirolamo, fighting for the cause. George Dunbar and Mike Reese, leading from Westmoreland County. Chris Dush, I don't know how you have time to have all those jobs. But he's a man of integrity, and he's certainly announced that he's going to term limit himself. Brian Ellis, no one is better at a caucus concierge than you, my friend, and I look forward to seeing you in June and many Junes to come. Garth Everett, good friend and low-key, very, very thoughtful. Frank Ferry and Kathy Watson, thank you so much for all your help in getting that carbon monoxide bill passed. We work together as a body, and I know we've saved lives. Mindy Fee, solid and as friendly as they come. Again, Matt Gobler for service to our country. When I hear Mark Gillen's name, I think of mission trips. Bob Gottschalk, God bless him for getting to work every day except for my speech. Keith Greiner, frugal. Seth Grove, I love that you hate taxes. Marsha Hahn, thanks for whipping me. Adam Harris, I'll see you in Vegas. Tim Hennessy, when we did the first carbon monoxide bill, I don't know how many years ago that was, 10, Tim had a hearing on it, and we found out at the hearing that the department wasn't doing inspections of these facilities. So we said, well, maybe before we do anything with carbon monoxide, we should maybe make sure they do some inspections. So it kind of reminded me, Kathy, Representative Watson, when you had your comment, you're going to come in and do something that first term. That took about 8 years, I think, to get done. Rob Kaufman, I think of the perfect family. Rich Irwin, a quiet winner. Aaron Coffer, very astute. Fred Keller, thank you for your annual event, helping our people across the street. Kate Klunk, now I just have this vision. It's like, 7 steps away from Kevin Bacon? Well, it's like 3 steps away from Kate Klunk, Judy Ward, and Eddie Day Pashinsky. 3 degrees of separation, I guess. Jerry Knowles, we first met when he was a staffer, and he came out to help me in my special election. John Lawrence for getting me back to drinking chocolate milk. Harry Lewis for your impact on people's lives. Thank you. Ryan McKenzie, please work on selling Swift. John McGinnis, please write a book titled My Mom's Jokes. Daryl Metcalf, maybe I'll see you in Florida. Carl Metzger, I saw him smile the other day. Nick Miccarelli, thank you for your service to our country. Dwayne Milne, quiet man, also has several jobs. Brett Miller, sorry we could not move your nurse bill. Dan Mao, I enjoyed our time at RTJ, and what happens at RTJ stays at RTJ. Oh, Mr. Verb decides to show up. Tom Resolution Mert. Eric Nelson, I think of Dan Sarver and the value you bring in caucus. Ted Nesbitt is judge material. Jason Ortitai, sorry I give you nightmares. Kristen Phillips Hill, class. Tina Pickett, also class, and a great chair of the insurance committee. Jeff Powell, no need, everybody knows. Tom Quigley, a founding member of the Chicken Hoagie Caucus. Chris Quinn, a fellow insurance brethren. Marguerite Quinn, not afraid to take on issues. Drac Rader, small business owner, value in caucus. Brad Roy, for some reason, I think of day-old bread and hot dog buns. Greg Rothman, good chance you'll be my rep someday. Rick Saccone and Will Tallman for your prayers. Tommy Sankey, when he talks, it's really, really good. Jamie Santora, an extraordinarily hard worker. Paul Schemmel, I never got to learn from him how to tie a bow tie. Justin Simmons just wins. Craig Statz, as much class as his predecessor. Todd Stevens, I think of a district attorney. Mike Tobash, I hope you have no hard feelings for me talking you into running. Jesse Topper, I feel like you belong in the back row as much time as you spend talking to Rosemary Brown. Jeff Wieland, cousin. Park Wentling, we said it earlier, very nice gentleman. And Dave Zimmerman, I think of a family man and a man of faith. I do want to talk about my Democrat friends here, but for some reason I lost those notes. Have we reached a half hour yet? Long time ago, right. All right, so my friends on the other side of the aisle, back in Allegheny County, Dan Honorado and Rich Fitzgerald, Paul Costa. Paulie, I'm sorry we didn't get VGTs across the goal line, my friend. When we were in the minority, he helped me get legislation through, and I was trying to help you as well. In fact, wanted to indicate the bipartisan nature of it by making that remarks on your side of the aisle. Anita Kulik, my neighbor, and it turned out to be a really good friend, and we had a good trip with the Liquor Committee to Cuba, and I will enjoy supporting you, Anita, in the future, and thanks for all what you do for our area. Billy Courts, Matt Bradford, I think the only thing we agree on is Matt Smith. Frank Dermody, Dan Frankel, Joe Markosik. I'm fortunate and blessed to have the airport in my district, but it's a regional asset. And we work as a region and a team in the area, and I really appreciate all the support over the years for that, because it's such, when I got in here, it was 2 years after 9/11, and US Air had just filed for bankruptcy. We passed a gaming bill that really helped bail that out as well. So thank you for all your support and all you've done for the area. Jake Wheatley. When my first drive to Harrisburg, I got on the turnpike at exit 57, and there's this HR 19 plate, and this guy is flying. I'm like, he must know what he's doing. So I followed him, and I've never gotten here that fast. I got here, I looked up the district, and I sent Jake a text, or an email rather, and I said, thank you. He said, I get pulled over. So I didn't do that anymore. But we developed a relationship, and his district was the first that I toured. Had the highest property values with downtown Pittsburgh, but also had some of the poorest areas. So it really enabled me to see that there was a great divergence, not only within parts of the state, but within one person's district. Rob Matsey, Brian Barbin, Tony DeLuca, and Pam Snyder, thank all of you for your kind words and your support over the years. You know, I've tried to be a bridge, not only in my caucus. There are times where I feel like we are going to implode at times over the years, but that's usually around budget time. I try to be a bridge there, but also across the aisle. And if I can be remembered with anything, I hope it's that. Leader Reed, I want to thank you for your counsel, especially at HRCC, your support in caucus on a host of issues, and I wish you and the family the best in your next phase of life, and I'll be there for a loan soon. Speaker Turzai, from my hometown, thank you for your support from the very first day of my campaign. In working closely with you and Leader Reed over the last 4 years, I've gotten to see a different side and a more personal side, not only of each of you, but also of a lot of our members. We all have personal issues that we have to deal with as well, in addition to doing this job. Speaker, how you physically are able to do what you do across the state and most recently the country, while at the same time being there for your family is truly remarkable. I think we may have disagreed on approaches now and then, but at the end of the day, you were always right. You're the Speaker. So, with that in mind, Mr. Speaker, the first bottles of wine were sold at a Giant Eagle store, which is now in Anita Kulik's district in Robinson Township. And there was a big event, and the Speaker was there, I was there, and a couple others. But on the way to go buy the bottles of wine, the Speaker got delayed by some press, local press. Well, I went and picked out a bottle of wine, and I checked out, and the lady said, "You know, this is the first bottle." And I said, "First bottle?" And I thought about it. This is the first bottle in the state of Pennsylvania. So I had the CEO at the time from Giant Eagle sign the bottle, and I kept the receipt just in case he bought one. There's his date stamped and time stamped so that I could show that this was ahead of yours. But Mr. Speaker, for all you did on that issue and all the help you've given me over the years, it's my pleasure to give you the very first bottle of wine that was sold in a grocery store in the state of Pennsylvania. All right, my two best friends, I'm going to be closing soon, and then what's going to happen is my young mentor is going to come up, and then we have a little closing that we'll do together. Jim Marshall, my seatmate, quietly implementing the Marshall Plan with his subtle sense of humor. I hope we continue to stay close, and that you, Cindy, Cheryl, and I travel again to someplace fun. Will you, Representative Marr, and myself ever produce that first bottle of Monongahela Rye? Jim Christiana, he has a wonderful way of choosing the right words to communicate. As the Speaker said, Jim graduated from W&J, and he worked for a Mercedes-Benz dealership before he was elected. I made the mistake after he was elected as introducing him as someone who sold cars, or sold Mercedes. He said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, Mark. You don't sell Mercedes. You help people buy them. Because they're coming in, they're buying one. You just don't know which one." So right then I knew that he has a different way of expressing and phrasing things. I went through a tough time in my personal life up here years ago, and we're human, right? We all have issues. And it was around the time that Jimmy was elected, and my kids are 3 hours away, and I guess I sort of adopted you. And I want to thank, I don't know your mom knows that, but you were my Harrisburg son. We've shared a lot, and we've done a lot together. You were the better U.S. Senate candidate and would have run a far better campaign, in my opinion. Should you decide to run again, please count me as part of that team. I look forward to many years of golfing with you, and yes, I'll give you strokes until you get that hitch in your swing fixed. Since Mr. Verb is here, he was my special ops guy. We had some good RTJ times together, and we decided to go out one night late and get a pizza. Little do we know, the oven was never used. Not only was it never used, you know that styrofoam stuff and the tape they put in? Well, they didn't take it out. Well, I preheated the oven, not opening it. So the whole building didn't burn down. But since then, he's called me Pizza Boy. But Mike, I appreciate when you were here in caucus, what you did, but also all your work you've done while you were here and since for victims. Thank you so much. So when I leave here, I'll go back and do some other things, and I'll hopefully be spending a lot of time in Harrisburg, or in Camp Hill especially. But John Lady gave me this hat, and for those of you from Pittsburgh, it says Yinzers on the front and it says Jagoff on the back. So I'm going to go back to Yinzerville, and God bless all of you, and thanks for all the value that you brought to my life. We have a little toast, and this is a toast that I did actually after I was first elected, and Mary Larsenes, who worked on my campaign, I spent 7 straight weeks with her, will probably remember this.
Friends may come.
Friends may go.
Friends may peter out.
You know,
But we'll be friends.
through thick or thin,
Peter out.
Peter in.
God bless you.